Good morning. Welcome, everyone, to Administrator Issues and Updates. It's October 14th, 2025. County Administrator Gary Schmidt, would you please take the roll?
Yes, Vice Chair Savas. Chair Roberts is out of the office today. Vice Chair Savas will chair the meetings. Roll call. Commissioner West.
Here.
Commissioner Schrader.
Here.
Commissioner Helm.
Here.
Vice Chair Savas.
Present. Thank you. We will now recess as the Board of County Commissioners and convene as the North Clackamas Parks and Recreation District Board of Directors. Gary, would you introduce the first item?
Yes, this is a advisory board appointment for the North Clackamas Parks and Recreation District Board. Andrew, go ahead, please.
Mr. Vice Chair, the North Clackamas Parks and Recreation District Advisory Committee currently has one opening due to a term expiration. Recruitment was completed by the City of Milwaukee, as this seat is for the Milwaukee Sub-Area Representative. Through the city's recruitment process, one applicant was recommended to be appointed. The recommendation is as follows. Laura Jenks to a first term ending June 2029. The Board of Directors could select other candidates or require further recruitment, Mr. Vice Chair.
Okay. Thank you. Any comments, colleagues?
I'll make a motion if you like.
Sure.
I move that we approve the appointment of Laura Jenks to the District Advisory Committee.
Second.
Okay, it's moved by Commissioner West to approve Laura Jenks to the District Advisory Committee. It's been seconded by Commissioner Helm. Any other discussion? Seeing none, clerk, please take the poll.
Director Schrader.
Aye.
Director Helm.
Aye.
Director West.
Aye.
Mr. Vice Chair.
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0, Mr. Vice Chair.
Great. Thank you. I will now adjourn as the NCPRD Board of Directors and can reconvene as the Board of County Commissioners. Gary?
Thank you, Vice Chair. First up is a presentation from the Sheriff's Office on the Sheriff's Office School Resource Officer Program. This is an informational update for you on this program. Presenting is Sheriff Brandenburg and Lieutenant Wilson from the Sheriff's Office. Welcome.
All right. Good morning. Making sure the microphone is on, correct? All right, great. Good morning, Vice Chair Savas, Commissioners and County Administrator Schmidt, and Mr. Williams. I'm Sheriff Angela Brandenburg, and here today with me is Lieutenant Jed Wilson of our Investigations Division, who oversees our school resource program under our Investigations Division. Thank you for the opportunity. We're here to provide an informational update on our Sheriff's Office School Resource Officer Program. So we thought it is appropriate timing as the school year just got underway. And we want to introduce you to the important work of our deputies, their duties as school resource officers in North Clackamas, Wilsonville, and Estacada school districts. So specific details about our program are in the memo I provided to Gary, and I believe it's also online. So at this time, I know our time is short, I'd like to turn it over to Lieutenant Jed Wilson.
Thank you. Good morning. So my name is Jed Wilson. I've been with the Sheriff's Office since 2014, 21 years in law enforcement in Oregon. Part of my duties, when I worked for a previous agency, I was an SRO myself, and then was the supervisor, the sergeant of the unit for several years before being promoted. I would like to just take a quick minute to introduce our SROs that are here with us today. We have our supervisor of the unit is Sergeant Steve Gaitan. Sergeant Gaitan is a detective sergeant for us, and as part of his duties, he supervises our SROs and part of our child abuse team and our Internet Crimes Against Children team. And then we have 3 SROs representing the North Clackamas School District. We have Deputy Magali Quintero, Deputy Amanda Derby, and Deputy Dan Olson. Deputy Quintero is assigned to Clackamas High School, Deputy Derby to Adrian Nelson High School, and Deputy Olson to Rex Putnam High School. And then representing the city of Estacada and the Estacada School District is Deputy Keith Kyler. And for Wilsonville, Deputy Zach Kersey. So I just wanted to take a quick moment to represent, that is the SRO unit for the Sheriff's Office in its entirety. So thank you, appreciate it. So like I just said, there are 3 SROs assigned to the North Clackamas School District, 1 assigned to the city of Wilsonville, and 1 assigned to the city of Estacada. Those SROs are assigned to a specific high school, and their area of responsibility falls to that high school primarily, and then to the feeder schools that go into that, so the middle school, the elementary schools, et cetera. Obviously, days that they are gone, et cetera, we have other SROs that cover those duties, but that's their primary assignment. They go to those schools every day. They become essentially part of the staff and work closely with the school administrators on a day-to-day basis. Their primary responsibilities, obviously, for the safety of the students and staff and everybody inside the buildings that they serve. They also respond to calls for service within the schools, as you can imagine. Schools of 1,500 kids oftentimes generate some various law enforcement calls, and so they respond to those. And they act as counselors, they act as trusted adults, people to be around to have information reported to. They teach classes, they enforce traffic laws near and around the schools. And they end up spending a lot of time following up on calls that maybe were generated the night before at some other time throughout the county, but involved a student at one of their schools. And so they will oftentimes do follow-up for those types of incidents. So they do work closely every day with school administrators, and oftentimes are dealing with kids that have done something quote-unquote wrong, whether it's a legal issue or a school issue. They work closely with those administrators to make sure that they are trying to find the best outcome for those students, which doesn't necessarily mean becoming involved in the criminal justice system. So they take into account risk to public safety, past performance of the student, behavioral issues, et cetera, and come up with sort of the best solution that they and the administrators believe will affect that student's behavior for the future without necessarily getting involved in the criminal justice system. And then lastly, one of the biggest, most important things I think that our SROs become involved in is called a behavioral safety assessment. And essentially, a behavioral safety assessment team is a collaborative team that involves law enforcement, school administrators, counselors, sometimes parents, and juvenile justice system. Anytime there is a threat to personal safety or harm to a student, a staff member, somebody associated with the school, our SROs will become involved with this team and assess that assessment. There is a very strict guideline on these assessments. It's done the same way every time, following best practices, and they work to, again, determine the validity of threats and then follow through with safety planning for the students, legal outcomes, and if that student's going to stay in the school, how is that school going to be safe with that student still in the school? This is something that unfortunately they do quite a bit, but I'm going to touch on a couple of things, and I'll give you a couple of quick examples of some of the great outcomes we've had working with them. Funding for our SROs comes from a couple of different areas. The cities of Wilsonville and Estacada have contracts with the Sheriff's Office to provide those services for their school districts. And then the North Clackamas School District directly has IGAs with the Sheriff's Office to provide the 3 SROs for us, and then Milwaukee Police Department also has a North Clackamas SRO. In 2021, we were in need of several SROs just due to some retirements and people moving along, and we were having a hard time getting the recruitment that we needed, and we kind of had to look at what we were doing to recruit our SROs. What we decided to do was give the SROs that are assigned in North Clackamas an opportunity to, in the summertime, instead of going back and working a patrol shift, to come back and work with our detectives as sort of a detective mentor program. They work, they go through their training program for detectives. They get investigation experience, and then each summer they're an SRO. They get to come back and essentially be a detective for 3 months. And it's been highly successful. We've gotten every opening we've had for an SRO, we've gotten great candidates. We've promoted now, since that time, we've promoted 2 deputies, 2 detectives straight out of being an SRO, and they have just seamlessly integrated with our detective division, and it's been a great program, very successful. Lastly, I just want to give you a couple quick examples of some behavioral safety assessments that could have gone terribly wrong, but didn't because of the great work of our SROs being involved. One was back in 2022, 23, at Adrian Nelson High School, and it started with a written note to a female student that was kind of a love interest of this young man, and there was a threat made to that female student and the general student population as well. And through quick action of our, this is a very long story, very involved, so I'll spare you all the details. If you'd like to know more, I'm happy to tell you later. But through the great work of our SROs, we determined that this was a very credible threat. This student had written plans, computer documents, et cetera. You can, anything you could think of, is probably this kid had. And we were able to intervene, that student did land in the criminal justice system, has very strict conditions of probation now, and has caused us no further issues. But that was a very scary one. That one was reviewed by the FBI Behavioral Health Unit, and they essentially told us that, yeah, if you guys didn't intervene, this kid was going to follow through with what he did. That's just one example of, hundreds that these guys do every year. Some of them, not all of them are obviously that critical, but they take everyone seriously and do a fantastic job. I'll end it there. If you guys have any questions, please let me know.
Okay. Commissioner Helm.
So if you're promoting, thank you for this presentation, by the way. This is highly fascinating, and I feel very safe today. I want you to know. I love feeling safe in here. So if you're bringing these people in, you're recruiting them as SROs, but then you're promoting them to the detective unit, what's the average length of time that they're an SRO? Because if they're developing relationships in the schools with the students and then they're pulled away, I'm just wondering what the average length of time is.
We ask the SROs when they get hired as an SRO to commit for 3 years. Okay. Is sort of a general rule of thumb. And I think the 2 that we have promoted were just after their 3-year commitment were promoted in.
Okay.
So.
Cool. And then my second question, if you'll indulge me. So you just spoke about the behavioral safety assessment student that you took action on.
Yeah.
So what kind of help are they getting now? What is that next step? I mean, obviously they have some needs, and I just wonder
Well, this one was obviously very serious, and that's why we involved the criminal justice system in this case. We obviously felt was very important, and so that student has, who's no longer a student, but very intense, like the most intensive probation conditions that I've ever seen, and I mean to the point that they can't use the internet. They can't. I mean, there's a gambit of things, the most intense I've ever seen, and part of that process has been court-mandated mental health treatment as well, okay. which has been very good because it's very difficult for us in a behavioral safety assessment to make a recommendation for mental health without the legal system involved because we can't. There's no teeth for us. But when we get a judge involved that mandates that, then obviously that becomes a lot easier, and we know that they're going to get that.
Okay. Thank you.
I forgot who was first, Commissioner West or Schrader?
Go ahead, Commissioner West.
Thank you for the presentation. I think the SRO program is fantastic. I have a question. Is West Linn part of your program, or is that through their own?
Yeah, so West Linn Wilsonville School District is the
Right.
same school district, but West Linn has their own dedicated
Okay.
SRO. Yep.
My son went to Bose School, so I see one of his SROs who we built a great relationship with to this day, and my son built really strong relationships with both in Wilsonville and in West Lynn. And I think, and we'd have great conversations about that. And there were times where we were going through some real stuff as a family, and those SROs were important. And we had to utilize those services that were available at the school. And so, I mean, I've talked with one of them here in detail about that specific impact in my family, which I'm forever grateful for. I think it's great because we need more enhanced security, in my opinion, in our schools. And sometimes that's also just because there's some bad actors that will come in and try to do bad things in the schools that we see all too often throughout the country. And so I feel safer as a parent, recently having a son graduate from the Wilsonville Westland School District, that one of those officers was in that school protecting my child. I think it's good for prevention and early, and prevention is great, not just to prevent crime, but also to get a hold of a child soon before this escalates into something more chronic in their life. I think, like I spoke to the positive relationship building with the community, the great interfacing with law enforcement, the forward-facing positive aspects of all of this. They're probably great in some conflict, doing some conflict resolution, and it's community engagement and those types of things. So thank you for updating this, and thank you all for the great work that you do with our kiddos every single day. It's greatly appreciated, and it's super valuable.
Thank you. Commissioner Schrader.
Well, I just want to echo what Ben said. Really, thank you for being there. I did my student teaching at Rex Putnam back in the day, and I'm actually still a certified teacher, and I'm glad that you are there in these districts for these kids, because you're positive role models. And I guess one of my questions is, are you influencing some of these young people to go into law enforcement, do you think? I mean, when they see you, when they talk to you, when they kind of
I see some
say,
head nods.
this is a cool...
I think we've gotten some cadet recruits out of
right.
the high school because of some SRO involvement, and we end up hiring a large amount of our cadets as full-time deputies. So I don't know how many of the high school students would tell you what they want to do and actually have them follow through with it, but I think we've had that. I think we've had that direct
I was going to
impact.
say, it's actually a career pathway for these kids, too. So it's not only a safety issue, it's showing them what a job is and what you do and how important it is. And I also, other thing I got to share, we didn't have those when I went to high school, but my uncle was the truant officer. So I didn't get many dates in high school, thanks to that. But anyway, I digress. But he, in a way, he was not law enforcement, but he did the same thing you did. He would find a troubled kid, or he would make sure they got to school. He'd bring them to school if he had to, talk to parents, and really did a good job. So I'm really happy that you're doing that
Thank you.
for these kids.
Yeah, great. Well, great presentation. I just want to share that. I don't know how long and maybe it's a question here, how long the SRO program has been around. I know it's been, since I've been a commissioner, it's been a program. Any thoughts on how long the SRO program's been here in Clackamas?
I mean, before my time at the
Yeah,
sheriff's
before my
office.
time.
So
Well,
it's
during my time.
been
Yeah, a long time.
yeah, it's
Sporadic, but I think the program is the strongest it's ever been. Bringing it under the investigations division, before, as I took over as sheriff, we had openings to fill the SRO program, and we didn't have any interest. And so I think the last time we filled an SRO slot, there was 12 applicants, is that correct? Something around there?
Yeah,
10?
a couple processes ago, we had 12 at once, and then we've had consistent 5, 6 applicants, so.
Yeah, so it's been a great mentorship program into detectives. A lot of the skills that our detectives have are being utilized by our school resource officers every day. And so it's a natural fit and then a benefit to them to be mentored into investigations, which is where not all of them want to end up, but it gives them a taste to see if they want to do that.
Well, I learned something here today. I didn't know the SRO program was primarily high schools, which is, just educational piece. But I do recall, that when NCSD had this Principal for a Day program, they invited not only elected officials, but some business owners and people in the community to spend a day with the principal at all different schools, right? You know, K-12 and middle school and high school and so forth. What a contrast. The first one I went to was, middle school, not a middle school, but a K-12 school out in Happy Valley area. And I just remember how much it brightened my day being around all those young kids. It was just pretty awesome. And then, I think I did it 4 or 5 times, but, when the transition from going from there to to Ralph, the middle school, and then it was the exposure to some of the food and nourishment challenges that some families that don't get nourishment at the beginning of the day. So, and I got to spend the day with the teacher. It was very hectic. I was like, wow, this is wow, middle school, man, there's a lot going on. And so high school, it's even more intense. So I applaud you all for being in the midst of all that, and great presentation. And this program is pretty much funded through the schools, right? Schools pay for this service? Is that how it
Yes.
works?
So I anticipated your question, Vice Chair. Yeah, so the SROs, when they're providing services, it's a full cost recovery, and with the administrative, 15% administrative costs that recoup it. So yes, it's paid for by the schools.
Okay, great. Well, it's a great program. We totally all support that, obviously, and keep up the great work. And I kind of envy you all being in those schools, those young kids. But at the same token, I also realize how the challenges are as well. So thanks for your service, all of you.
Yeah, they do a great job, so we're very lucky in Clackamas County.
Yes.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you.
Okay, this was a presentation only, so, or informational only. So Gary, what's next?
Thank you. Next is review of your board business meeting agenda for this Thursday, October 16th, 2025 at 10 a.m. You'll have public communication, a presentation on the Great Oregon Shakeout, which is Oregon's annual earthquake drill that occurs at 10:16 a.m. on October 16th. You have a Housing Authority consent agenda, Board of Commissioners consent agenda, and 2 public hearings. The first is transferring a portion of South Beaver Creek Road to the City of Oregon City. The second is a first reading of an ordinance that addresses erosion prevention and sediment control that you heard in a policy session last month. If you have any questions on any item on the agenda, would you please let me know prior to the business meeting so that I may answer it or have staff in the room to answer your question. Thank you. That is issues for today. The last item is Commissioner Communications.
Okay, first up, Commissioner Schrader.
Well, thank you. Thank you for that, colleagues. I was gone last week. I had the opportunity to go to Milwaukee, Wisconsin, a place that I have never been before, for the large urban county caucus of the National Association of Counties. I try to go to both the Rural Action Caucus as well as the large urban county caucus because our county is really pretty much both. And it was a fantastic experience with commissioners from all over the United States. We were one of the smaller counties at about 400, I think we're about 425, Gary, maybe a little more than that right now?
Yes.
Right? Most of those counties are 500,000 and over, and most of what we did was, which I thought was really fascinating, was we had a woman who was absolutely fantastic talking about healthcare systems and how they were managing their system and the metrics that they were using. And I will get more details for you. I don't have it in front of me now, but I would like to talk a little bit more about that. And I did find out that our own health department and our public health folks are actually using those same metrics and working in tandem with this woman. She's got a doctorate in public health and how we manage and how we get the measurements that we need to see how we're doing. So that was phenomenal. Another interesting thing, if you're a baseball fan, okay, the Milwaukee Brewers. And they have a huge baseball stadium there. It's absolutely top-notch, one of the most beautiful stadiums I've ever seen. And of course, I had a family that they all played baseball, so it was important to do it. But they gave us a whole tour of the stadium, and it is a huge economic driver in the heartland of Milwaukee. If you want to go, in fact, there was going to be a game that night, but at that point we all had to leave. But it was absolutely fantastic to see that and to realize that in many instances, sports franchises are important locally because they are big economic drivers. So just a few of the highlights that I was there. I was glad to meet a lot of my colleagues who I've known for a long time there and have an opportunity to talk to them about what's been happening at the national level. Obviously, we are all worried because we're all dealing with the consequences, and we talked about that. That was part of what we were discussing of right now a government shutdown. And all of us there are hoping that that this ends sooner than later. It's not helping counties. It's not helping our local governments. And it's time for our electeds at the congressional level, I hope. I'm not talking party or not party, but for whatever reason, they need to get back to business so we can do what we need to do as commissioners for our constituents here. So that's what I've got for today, and I promise more details are coming.
Great, thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner West.
Thank you for that, Martha. It's my first time as a naval officer running a medical unit navigating a governmental shutdown. So this has been interesting as I help my sailors figure out what they're supposed to do and if their orders are frozen or if they're going to that training and if that paycheck's coming in. So this does impact men and women in our armed services. So, and some of them still have to show up to work and they don't know when they're going to get their next paycheck. Oddly enough, Congress still gets theirs, which I think is hilarious that the elected still get paid, but the men and women that serve this country and risk everything to do so don't. So I don't know if that leaves a little bit of a bitter taste in your mouth. It does in mine. I had the opportunity to have some really great meetings still regarding some movement on this ONC
Great.
properties and lands. And so I have met with our lobbyist. Mark was in town from DC, and I met with Trent yesterday. We've had a couple meetings even while I was out of town. Also last week we still met, and I think there's some real unique opportunities in movement. We're looking to meet with members of the cabinet and some congressional members. I think this is a unique window right now to potentially maximize the receipts that we can get off of those BLM lands. This will benefit all of the western counties, not just Clackamas County, significantly if we can see those receipts increase back to where they should be. And so we're doing a lot of hard work around that. I was also out last week, so it's good to be back. A little bit jet lagged, to be honest. I was across a couple time zones across the country, so it's good to be back. And I'll update you guys further as we get a little more solidifying what those plans are. But I'm really excited about what's developing on that lobbying effort and the potential to hopefully bring some more revenue into the county general fund. We like revenue in our general fund. It makes us happy, so we could use some more of it. And it also helps our rural communities and our other friendly counties here in the western part of the state. So I'll leave it at that. And I know we have other things going on today, but yeah, thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you, Commissioner West. Commissioner Helm.
So Thursday morning, I was guest speaker at Good Morning Damascus to introduce the idea to them that when Damascus disincorporated, this has to do with road funds, and when Damascus disincorporated, Bill Kennemer had written into that disincorporation vote that Damascus would continue receiving 20% of the road funds for the next 10 years. So that happened in 2016, so that will be ending in 2026. Those funds are going to be used for improving some local access roads, which, as you know, or some people know, don't know, local access roads are no man's land. Nobody takes care of them. So because this is going to be confusing to people who are having improvements done on roads that have never been improved, not improved, maintained, maybe just like helping out a little bit, that it's a one and done thing. So after these funds are used, it won't happen again. So this is the start of a conversation with those in the previous city of Damascus, what's going to be happening. We're going to hold an open house in the spring so that we can kind of get the word out that what is going on. So if they live on a local access road, they can turn that into a private road and get their neighbors together to, throw in some funds. So it's not a complicated thing, but it kind of is. But anyway, everybody's questions all had to do with Highway 212, right? It always comes back to the state-owned facility. So anyway, that was a good conversation. I think it was we got a lot of positive responses and stuff. In the afternoon on Thursday, I got to go on a courthouse tour, and I got to see stuff you guys haven't seen before, which is the room where the children can go.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's very cool. And it was very good. I will say that's only my second time in the courthouse. I know I've been a critic, and I won't apologize for being a critic because I didn't know. But I will say that the courthouse is beautiful. It was much needed, and kind of got a little backroom tour by D.A. Wentworth. And my previous tour was related to the artwork that's in the courthouse and stuff, and what was brought from the old courthouse. So it's kind of cool for people to come in and see. Then Thursday afternoon, Dr. Tim Cook, the president of Clackamas Community College, took me on a very nice tour of the college and showed me all the new that's going on there. I'm very excited. Actually, the funny thing was I had a friend text me just yesterday, and she had bought something from my previous retail business, and it's a little fan that works like a dream but has broken. And she goes, "Where do I take it to get it fixed?" And I said, you might take it to Clackamas Community College because they have small engine repair, and it's one of those places where kids want to take things apart and learn how they work, and I think it's a perfect place for people to take things that might need to get fixed and see if they can fix it, because kids like to try to do that. So anyway, thank you, Dr. Cook, for the tour. That was very informative, too. And then Friday, of course, was the Caring Place Gala at Abernathy Center, and that was a huge success. It was fun. It was very energetic. Thank you, Commissioner Savas, for being there. I think that this is going to be a really fantastic building. I think they're breaking ground this month or next month. So it was a huge success. There was an anonymous donor. They made an announcement. There was a $7 million donation that this donor will match dollar for every dollar that's been made so far for the Caring Place. So anyway, whatever we made that night, which was close to $400,000, will be doubled. So very cool. Yeah, it's exciting. All right, it's going to be a busy week. Back to you, Chair.
Yep. Thank you, Commissioner Helm. Last week, Martha, I was channeling you Wednesday when Commissioner Helm and I and Chair Roberts were at the AOC District 8 meeting. It was probably not really the best time for Commissioner Helm to get engaged with AOC, but I assured her actually most of the events and most of the gatherings are usually a lot smoother, and but not all. But it was a little rocky. I was channeling Commissioner West as well because he's the vice chair, but both of you were out of town. So that was interesting. We covered after going through some issues with bylaws, especially, which I tell you, bylaws is always challenging. It was, the personalities came through, and I think maybe even some of the governance challenges really came through quite a bit, which prompted me, by the way, and I can't remember if it was April 1st or if it was April 2nd, but their KGW, The Story, had a piece on governance, really, in a way that related to Multnomah County that I think it might interest you all, because they were going through board rules, and they were using language in their board rules identical to ours. I thought, well, maybe they watched our meeting, right? But anyhow, I think you'll find that very interesting. And while I was searching for that, Commissioner West, I came across, again, whether it was April 1st or 2nd, one of those two. One of those was about the recovery centers in Multnomah County and the challenge they're having with some of the vacant, unused facilities and beds. So I definitely was intrigued by wanting to learn more exactly what their challenge was. Wednesday morning, that very morning, Commissioner Helm and I gave her a tour of the NCPRD area a little bit. So it was overall was kind of a busy day, a nice day. Commissioner Helm mentioned the fundraiser that we attended for the Carrying Place on Friday. I also attended one on Saturday for the Concord facility. They're trying to raise money for just a carry or bridge funding for operational expenses to keep the community center open for, drop-in service. They did indicate, at prior discussions with them that they feel they can only do that for a short time. So again, this will be filling the gap. But it was a very nice event, and I got to be able to see, actually, I didn't have a chance to see the Concord facility completed, but the painting and the floors and a number of the treatments, very nice. A lot of people were practically just doing the tours around there, where a lot of them were just kind of broken up, as was I, which I have a hard time keeping my emotions, but positive, all good stuff. On Friday, I toured a company called QB Construction. They build lattice towers for utilities, PG and other utilities. Fascinating, nice family-run business, very nice people. We were there with our economic development team. We had 2 people from the state. Kathy Heisey, for example, was there from the state. So had a nice day there, and that's why I have the report for last week, and here we are, and we have a land use hearing come up in about 15 minutes. So, seeing no further business, I will recess the Board of County Commissioners meeting until 11 a.m. when we have our hearing.